Welcome to the Explainer. There's this concept that's literally everywhere you look. It shapes our bodies, our art, even our symbols of power. We're talking about bilateral symmetry, that simple, elegant idea of a perfect mirror image. So let's just jump right in with a question that really gets to the core of this. Have you ever noticed how we're just drawn to things that are perfectly balanced? But then when you actually look closely, really look at the world or even at your own face in the mirror, it's never actually perfect, is it? So what's up with that?
All right, to help us wrap our heads around this, we're going to lean on the insights of a brilliant mathematician, Hermann Weyl. Now, for him, symmetry wasn't just some dry, geometric pattern. No, he saw it as this fundamental tool that our brains use to make sense of everything, to create order and beauty out of a pretty chaotic universe.
Okay, so first things first, let's get a really clear definition down. What exactly are we talking about when we say mirror symmetry? And Weyl's definition is super precise. Just picture this. Imagine an invisible sheet of glass slicing right through an object. If everything on one side is the perfect mirror image of the other side, if you could fold it along that line and it matches up exactly, then boom, you've got bilateral symmetry. It's kind of an all or nothing deal. Okay, so that's the math, but here's where it gets really cool. Let's see how this super precise idea is basically the blueprint for the entire living world. Think about it. Look at pretty much any higher animal that needs to get around. Humans, fish, birds, tigers, you name it. You see the same left-right symmetry. It's the basic body plan. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's pretty simple, really. If you're going to move forward, having a balanced, two-sided body is just the most efficient way to do it. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, check this out. On the outside, yeah, we're built for balance. Paired arms, paired legs. But on the inside, nature completely throws that perfect mirror out the window. Our heart is tilted to the left, our liver's on the right. It's all jumbled up in there. And it's not a mistake. It's actually a super clever design choice, to cram all our complex organs into a tight space. So symmetry gives us the frame, but it's the asymmetry that makes it all work. All right, so that's nature. Now let's switch gears and see how we humans use this same idea in art and design. Because there, symmetry becomes this incredibly powerful way to send a message. Think about it. From the perfect, calm balance of an ancient Greek statue to the massive, imposing front of a cathedral, artists have always used perfect symmetry to scream one thing. This is order. This is stability. This is perfection. It just feels controlled, doesn't it? Intentional, harmonious. And this is maybe the best example of how obsessed we can be with this idea. Get this. Ancient Sumerian artists wanted perfect heraldic symmetry so badly, they just invented a creature to fit the bill. The two-headed eagle. A real eagle's head would ruin the balance, so they just gave it two. And that symbol of total unified power was so effective that empires kept using it for thousands of years. It went from Persia to Byzantium all the way to Imperial Europe. Okay, but let's be honest. If perfect symmetry equals perfection, why does it sometimes feel a little, boring, almost sterile? Why do artists, and nature for that matter, constantly feel the need to break that perfect mirror? Well, an art historian named Dagobert Frey really nailed it. It's all about this duality. Think of symmetry as rest. It's order. It's the law. It's static. But asymmetry, that's motion. That's life. That's freedom. It's what makes things happen. And you see this play out all through art history. Artists will create this beautiful, symmetrical frame, and then they'll deliberately mess it up, just a little bit. One of two riders will have a slightly different pose. One of two angels will have a different gesture, just to break the monotony. Heck, even the famous twin towers of Chartres Cathedral don't match. That historic asymmetry gives it character. It tells a story. It makes it feel alive. And Weyl pretty much said the same thing. A world with absolute perfect symmetry would be frozen. It'd be like a photograph. Think of a dancer. When they're standing still, perfectly poised, that's symmetry. But the second they move, the second they start to dance, that symmetry is gone. The breaking of the symmetry, well, that is the dance. That's life. So this leads us away from just art and biology and into something much, much deeper. A huge philosophical puzzle about the very nature of reality itself. Okay, so really think about this for a second. The fundamental laws of physics, they don't care about left versus right. They're totally symmetrical.
So if the basic rules of the universe are completely even-handed, how in the world did we end up with a universe that does care? Why is your heart on the left? Why isn't it a 50-50 shot? Well, this is a question that thinkers have been wrestling with for centuries. You had guys like Leibniz saying, there's no real difference. A mirror universe would be identical. But then Kant comes along and says, hold on, my left hand and my right hand are identical in every measurement, but I can't put my left glove on my right hand. They're fundamentally different. So what's the answer? Weyl comes in with this brilliant synthesis. He says, look, you're both right. The laws are symmetrical, just like Leibniz said. But at some point, some random event, some chance, some historical accident happened that broke that symmetry, and that's why we have the real-world differences that Kant was talking about. And we have proof of this deep inside our own biology. Get this. The amino acids that make up all life on Earth are all left-handed. They could have been right-handed, but they're not. Some coin flip happened billions of years ago, and it came up left. And that's the profound part. It proves that our specific lopsided reality could emerge from perfectly balanced laws, all because of a single random roll of the cosmic dice. And this brings us to Weyl's final, just beautiful insight. He suggests that the symmetry you see in a butterfly's wing and the symmetry you see in a masterpiece of art, they're not separate things. They both come from the exact same place, this deep, universal, mathematical source of order that's humming away underneath both the natural world and our own minds. So here's the ultimate takeaway. We live in a world that's constantly caught in this tug of war between two forces. On one side, you have perfect symmetry, which is orderly but kind of dead. On the other, you have total asymmetry, which is full of life but also total chaos. The real world, the beautiful, messy, dynamic world we actually live in, it exists right in the middle, in that amazing dance between the two. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If symmetry really is the established order, the law, the status quo, does that mean that all progress, all creativity, maybe even life itself is born from the moment we decide to break it? From having the courage to crack that perfect mirror?